Report. These are the actual audio reports of Special Agent Jake Taylor of the U.S. Unexplained Phenomena Administration. Covertly obtained recordings the government has kept secret of the strange things that happen where you live.
Everyone would like some art hanging in their home, and here's your chance to have originals of prints by Wheeze. Wheeze is a phenomenal artist known all over for her great work, including the Love Me Dog Art series. Check out artbywheeze.com today and get one of her amazing paintings or prints for your home. This is Special Investigator Jake Taylor with the U.S. Unexplained Phenomena Administration. The date is July 9th, 4 p.m., 2036. 3:24 p.m. This is my report. Location of interest, latitude 34 degrees 9 minutes, 51.1812 seconds north, longitude 113 degrees 48 minutes, 44.3088 seconds west, near the Alamo Lake region in Arizona. The psychic skull this administration had secured in a secret location in Arizona was stolen. Alarms set to alert the administration sounded in the D.C. office, and I went to investigate. I needed to get the skull back and have it secured again. I arrived at the facility it had been kept in at 10:46 a.m., July 6th. The door was opened by a 6'5" bald-headed, no-neck mountain. He wasn't the friendly type and looked at my credentials for a while before deciding he'd let me in. He showed me to a laboratory where Professor A. Adams was busy with something on a lab table. The professor was nothing like I had thought. The A stood for Abigail. Instead of meeting an elderly man with a long white goatee and thick glasses and a white lab coat, Professor Adams looked a bit bizarre. Gorgeous, but bizarre. She has thick, wavy, flaming red hair down to her, past her waist, which was held together in several locations along her back with thick rubber bands. Before the mountain could say anything, and with her back still to me, she said, "Hello, Mr. Taylor. Have you come to get my skull back?" Her Irish brogue was as thick as her red hair. She turned around, and when she moved, the light shimmered off a one-piece pants and top shiny black latex outfit. It fit like a second skin over a body that spent a lot of time at the gym. I was impressed. Very impressed. She gave off a strong presence that filled the room, and she had a way of projecting a sense of power. I also wondered how she knew it was me standing there before she looked. I hadn't said a word out loud yet, but she answered my question. "Mr. Taylor, they chose me for my work with the crystal skull because I already had psychic abilities. I've been here for many years now with the skull, and I'd like you to get it back for me, as soon as possible. It possesses enormous psychic abilities, and in the wrong hands it will create some rather large problems for the human race." She said human race like she wasn't part of it. Professor Adams wasn't the first woman to walk around in my head, and I didn't like it. "Mr. Taylor," she said, "I can't help hearing your thoughts. For me, they're as plain as if you spoke them with your lips. Now let's get down to business, shall we? I can help you locate the skull, but I need you to help me get to it. For one thing, I've never learned to drive a car." I looked at the mountain still standing there. Ah, well, poor Robert is unable to do complicated things. Too long exposed to the energy of the skull, it has affected his mind. Still, he's good at simple tasks like keeping people away. No, he wasn't always like this. He used to be fairly intelligent. I looked at Robert and felt sorry for him. "Just for fun, how about letting me say what I'm thinking? It will give me the illusion that my mind is still my own. If it's important to you. Do you know where the skull is?" "I can feel its presence and use that to locate it. If you'd be so kind as to follow my directions and take me there, we can begin at once. The longer the skull is out in the open, the more damage it will do. It's not always a pleasant thing, the skull. It can be devilishly mischievous." "So it has a mind and thoughts?" "That it does, and they are almost never the warm, friendly kind. It can be quite evil when it wants to be, and for its own amusement. How is it that it hasn't affected you? I can project a psychic shield to keep it from bothering me. I'll put the shield around you as well. The July sun in Arizona was brutal, and I blessed whoever thought to put air conditioning in cars. Abigail had changed out of the black latex bodysuit into something cooler, and we started out. I followed her directions for 3.5 hours while I asked about the skull. It was found in South America, along with some other skulls that had no psychic properties. Jose Gonzalez, the man who found it, wasn't a scientist. He just happened upon them while looking through some ancient Aztec ruins for something to sell. The administration heard about it and was able to buy it from him for a few pesos. Jose lost his mind shortly after. Do you know what its full capabilities are? No, not all of them. What I do know is frightening enough. It can control the minds of anyone near it, and make them see and think things and feel things, but those it affects won't realize those things aren't real. It can manipulate people into doing things they would never normally do. How do you know you're strong enough to block it? Couldn't that be an illusion? That isn't the worry. I've communicated with it. Sure, I had many a conversation with the evil thing, and I'm fairly certain I've kept it from planting things in my mind, but no, even I can't be sure of my own thoughts completely. As long as I can say that, then I feel safe. It won't want anyone knowing the thoughts in their head aren't their own. My doubts are my own way of knowing I'm still safe from it. How was it stolen? There is a group of people related to the ancient Aztecs who heard about it from poor Jose and his ramblings. There had been stories about it for centuries, so they gave some credibility to what Jose said. These folks wanted to return it to the old Aztec ruins where it was found, and bring back the ancient way of life. One of the group has psychic abilities, and he traced it to where we kept it. They waited for me to be away, and the psychic one had little trouble convincing Robert to let them have it. We finally reached the place where they kept the skull. I parked about a mile from the place which Abigail said was beyond the reach of the psychic skull, and we walked the rest of the way. It was an old, dilapidated house that looked abandoned. The paint had long since peeled off the wooden walls, all the windows were broken, and the roof sagged badly. When we were close enough and hidden behind some trees, Abigail held up a hand for quiet and stared at the old frame house like she was trying to look through its rotten walls. They stopped here waiting for a chance to cross the border. There's one watching out the front and one watching out the back. Another one is napping on the floor in what I'm supposing was the living room. There's no furniture. The one with the psychic abilities is in the living room trying to communicate with the skull. It would appear he's had no luck yet. He isn't as strong a psychic as he thinks, and for some reason the skull is ignoring him. Can you communicate with the skull from here? I'll try. Her face went blank as she looked toward the house. A few minutes went by before she looked back at me. The skull isn't responding. Can you tell if the men are armed? I can. The one with the skull has a pistol in his right jacket pocket. None of the others are armed. There was 50 feet of open yard between us and the house and no way to sneak up on them. Just how powerful a psychic are you? Do you have the ability to do anything to the men in there, like put them to sleep or make them docile? I've never tried that before. I don't know. Try it. She looked back at the house and her face got that blank look again. It was then I heard a voice in my head. It was the eeriest thing I've ever experienced. The voice was hollow-sounding and distant, and I had to focus on it to understand it. It had a strange accent that I've never heard before, and I've been all over the world. Jake Taylor, Abigail is lying to you. She made a deal with these men to steal me from the facility I was kept in. They plan on killing you. Abigail wants to use my psychic energy to enhance her own. She is insane. She wants to use these abilities to attack the British leadership and take control of all Ireland. She must be stopped. That was just great. I had a psychic skull walking around in my head now. Can you hear my thoughts as well? Yes. How am I supposed to know if I can trust you? In a moment, she will tell you the men in here are subdued. She will let you walk to the house first, and when she is behind you, she will take a pistol from her purse and shoot you. You must not let that happen. Okay, Skull. Abigail turned back to me. You were communicating with the skull? Her hand went to her purse, but the pressure of the barrel of my gun on her chest stopped her. I reached into her purse and took the gun out, and then things started to get dark and fuzzy. I couldn't think. I wasn't sure what I was doing. Everything was confusing. She put her hand on my gun and started to take it from me when the fog cleared, and I pushed it harder against her chest. Try that again and I will shoot you. How? I don't understand. You couldn't have fought me off your mind. The skull spoke to both of us. Abigail, I will not allow you to use me the way you intended. Your psychic abilities are no match for mine. I let all this happen because it was the only way to discredit you to your people. Jake, I've rendered the men in here unconscious. You may come in and you will not be harmed. Thanks, Skull. I handcuffed Abigail and took her to the house, waiting for someone inside to shoot at me. I wasn't about to trust the skull completely, but we got to the house without a shot fired, and inside the 4 men were lying on the floor, napping away. The skull was lying on the floor, and I picked it up. Jake Taylor, I know you plan on taking me to another facility that is more secure. That is acceptable. To be safe, I am going to take away Abigail's psychic abilities, wipe her mind completely, and render her harmless. She will be little more than a vegetable. Abigail shouted, No! You can't do this! As tempting as that sounds, Skull, it would be wrong. Can you strip her of her psychic abilities but leave the rest intact? Yes. You show mercy. Why? She would have killed you. I don't know where you come from, but here in the United States of America, we don't do things that way. She will stand trial before a special tribunal. As things are now, people make movies and write books about things like you. They get a thrill scare from them, but inside they know they're safe because they don't really believe things like you and Abigail exist. If it ever became public knowledge that you're real, no one would ever feel safe again. It would change the way everyone thought and lived. She'll get a fair trial, but it will be done in secret. We have people to handle that. Your way is a good way, Jake Taylor. I've taken Abigail's psychic abilities away from her, and she can do no more harm. I will study your people more. I didn't even want to get into that conversation. I secured the men, called in a helicopter transport to take them and Abigail to the detention center in Odessa, Texas. I put the skull in the box the administration supplied that was supposed to be able to prevent the skull from getting into my head, and took it to the facility outside Winchester, Virginia. That's my report. I'm going camping. Alone, where no one can get inside my head. Everyone would like some art hanging in their home, and here's your chance to have originals of prints by Wheeze. Wheeze is a phenomenal artist known all over for her great work, including the Love Me Dog Art series. Check out artbywheeze.com today and get one of her amazing paintings or prints for your home. This recording and its contents is copyrighted and may not be used in part or in whole by anyone for any reason other than to listen to where authorized.